Selamat pagi, ladies and gents. Apa khabar? Is everyone okay? Yes, pagi-pagi sudah datang Yayasan Hasanah. I'm very happy to have you here on behalf of Yayasan Hasanah. Welcome. And we will begin now. To those who are still around the compound, please feel free to take a seat. We still have a few, and we are so heartened to see a full house today. Selamat pagi, and of course, good morning, and selamat gawai to those who are celebrating. Now, if we can begin. Datuk Syahira Ahmad Bazari, Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah, Encik Muhammad Pilus Abdullah, Penolong Pengarah Unit Counselling Murid at the Bahagian Pengurusan Sekolah Harian of the Ministry of Education. Our speakers today, Dr. Nora Shikin Ibrahim, Head of the National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Siti Roshaidai, Associate Professor at IIUM Kuantan, Farzina Balan, Special Projects Director of Saura Industries, our Hasanah Special Grant Partner, Farihin Ufia, Co-Founder and Director of Nyawa, welcome, and of course, Ethan Ganes, our moderator today from Monash University. Ladies and gents, distinguished guests, and all those gathered here today, a warm welcome to this event, and of course, a warm welcome to members of the media, our friends from the media who came all the way to share our stories today. Thank you so much. Welcome to this event, a panel session, Mental Health for Vulnerable Youths. I'm Hanis from the Comms Department, who will be your MC for today. We are truly honored to have such diverse and esteemed audience comprising of policymakers, academia, private sector, CSOs, NGOs, we can see some of partners here, social enterprises, mental health advocates, and members of the media. Your presence speaks volumes about the importance of addressing this topic, mental health issues among our vulnerable youths. This event is proudly brought to you by Yayasan Hasanah. Allow me to share a bit about the host, Yayasan Hasanah. We are a foundation of Khazanah Nasional Berhad, was established with the aim of creating a greater social impact that complements Khazanah's efforts in advancing Malaysia. Hasanah's focus areas encompass education, community development, arts and public spaces, environment and knowledge. Since its inception in 2015, Yayasan Hasanah's work in the social sector has impacted over 2.4 million people, and that's catalyzing over 470 partners across more than 600 on-ground programs around the country. But it's not just about funding projects, which is why we're here. Yayasan Hasanah goes beyond that. As the largest grant maker in the country, Hasanah is committed to the principles of 3 C's. And what are these 3 C's? It's playing the role as a convener, collaborator, and catalyst for change. And so it's in the spirit of these 3 C's that we have organized this panel, where we convene in sharing our knowledge, spark collaborations, drive awareness, and hopefully catalyze innovative solutions to support the mental well-being of our youths. Now, I hope you're energized and ready, ladies and gents, to kickstart our event proper and deliver her welcoming remarks. It's my pleasure to invite to the rostrum Yang Berbahagia, Datuk Syahira Ahmad Bazari, Trustee and Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah.
Thank you, Hanis. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome everybody. Encik Muhammad Pilus, Penolong Pengarah Unit Counselling Murid at Bahagian Pengurusan Sekolah Harian, Ministry of Education. Dr. Nora Shikin Ibrahim, Head of the National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health, Ministry of Health. Dr. Siti Roshaidai, Associate Professor of IIUM Kuantan. Farzina Balan, Special Projects Director of Saura Industries. Farihin, Co-Founder of Nyawa. And Ethan, our moderator from Monash. And thank you so much for accepting to be the panelists. And to all of our guests, thank you so much for coming and giving us your full support. As Hanis mentioned, ILMU Hasanah is about talking about the issues at hand, right? And how we collectively as ecosystem partners can work together to make an impact, right? So I think one of the things that is we don't do so well is connecting the dots and working together in all the different verticals that we're working on. We all have the same aspiration and ambition, but I think we all need to do better in collaborating lah and working together. So that's the intention of ILMU, not only to discuss the pertinent issues that we're all dealing with, but also to get to know each other, collaborate, connect, and amplify the work that we're doing. So that's ILMU. I am not going to stand here to talk about mental health because all of you are experts. I don't know much. But as a woman, as a mother, as an auntie, as boss to many young people, and myself, I mean, mental health doesn't only affect young people, right? It affects all of us. I do know that we need to be there for each other, and we need to raise awareness better. And I'm a mother of 3 teenage children. Parenting is very different today from since the time my parents were raising me up. I can't use their techniques now because it probably doesn't work. And so for us, when we looked at our education pillar, you would be wondering why mental health under education. So in the when we did our 5-year plan, in the first 5 years, YH under education, we were doing quite a lot of things lah. We were doing remedial, we were doing STEM, we were doing public school transformation, teacher training, a lot of things under education on top of the heavy investment we do on education. And then we realized that we need to obviously focus, because we then started talking to other philanthropies and foundations as well, and then kind of say, maybe some of these spaces are quite well invested in. For example, STEM, there are a lot who are, investing in STEM. Should we also be playing there in that sense? So one of the things that we felt was really important about mental health was helping them when they are younger and making them be aware of what is it that they're feeling, what is it that they're experiencing, what are some of the stresses that they go through today, and help them when they are younger, so when they become adult and life gets even more complicated as you get older, you are able to cope and you know what is it that you're experiencing. So I'm just speaking very plainly, as a parent maybe, or, as someone who cares about our young people and the stresses that they're going to be going through in life as life gets harder for them. So then we decided that, hey, why don't we do something, since we are already in national schools. We've been doing national schools for a long time, Kazana and Hasanah. And we say, is there something that we can do in the primary and secondary school where we let our young people be aware, a lot more aware? And of course, I mean, not just be aware, but also provide them the services if they need it lah. For some, they just need to know what they're experiencing. But of course, there are students that we see are more serious, needs to go get medical help, then we provide that help. So we started off actually retraining school counselors, actually. Not retraining, but really getting them more current lah, to make our school counselors be more current about the challenges of today. So we started that quite a number of years already. We partnered with universities, we brought in, and the teachers felt very empowered that, they said, betul lah, memang kita tengok masalah ni kat sekolah. Kadang-kadang saya pun tak boleh nak tolong anak murid saya, ataupun anak murid saya agak serious, outside my skills and capabilities, how can I help, kan? So we decided that, okay, let's make this our 5-year plan, where not only we raise awareness and knowledge for our students, but also provide services. There's no point you are aware and you need help, but you have nowhere to go for help. So it's also about providing those assistance. So today we have, I think, about, if I'm not mistaken, about 8 projects live going on in school, 8 different models with different social enterprises. Some of you are here. We don't know, right, what is the model that is effective in terms of raising awareness, providing services and all of that. So we said, let's support all the different ideas and innovation that's going into schools. And then we'll see which program and project is scalable, yang kita boleh amplify and go to more schools. So that's why today we've got 8 mental health projects worth about 2.5 million, impacting 2,700, almost 2,800 counselors, 2,200 students, 1,100 PRS in schools, 345 teachers and also parents, tapi tak banyak, 40 parents. So we need to connect. So today we are here to learn from you, okay? If we can work together to, I don't know what is the aspiration lah Anwar, but if we can have a maybe mental health guideline untuk sekolah melalui collaborative ni, kita boleh launch satu SOP ke guideline untuk public schools di Malaysia where our young people are protected, taken care of, have the outlet, have the services to become stronger adults lah when they leave schools. That could be an outcome that we can work together. If we have policy makers here, maybe we can impact some policy changes. I don't know what they are. We need more data, but what could be a policy piece of work that we can do for schools, for our youngsters, young 8 to 18, you know, a very vulnerable group that we can help. So that's what we are here for. Tell us how we can support you and each other, because, you know, as a philanthropy, we are here to provide those resources lah, capacity, capability, funding, whatever is needed in the ecosystem to help this dream become a reality together. So thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to learn today as much as I can from the panel of experts. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Datuk Syahira, for that wonderful, electric introduction. Great aspirations. I hope at the end of this day we'll benefit together. And now, I hope you are ready because we've got an incredible lineup for today's event. We'll be diving into 2 exciting sessions here. First up, we have a research paper presentation and then followed by a panel discussion. Both promise to be informative and engaging. But before we jump into the first session, let me share a bit about our esteemed speaker, Dr. Siti Roshaidai. She's an associate professor at the Kuliah of Nursing, International Islamic University Malaysia, with a bachelor's degree from University Science Malaysia, a master's degree from University Malaya, and a PhD from the University of Stirling in the United Kingdom. Dr. Siti Roshaidai brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table. Her research interests revolve around maternal mental health, postnatal well-being, and qualitative studies. Dr. Siti has made significant contributions to her field with publications in various index journals, successful grant acquisitions, and involvement in consultation projects. She's also actively reviewing books, conference papers, and journal articles. Now together, let's welcome Dr. Siti Roshaidai as she takes the room to present her research paper, presenting a paper on the review and mapping of mental health and psychosocial support services in Malaysia. Please welcome Dr. Siti Roshaidai.
Thank you so much, Hanis, our chairperson today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah, and a very good morning to all. Our respected Datuk Syahira, Dr. Anne, Encik Pilus, invited guests, panels, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Roshaidai. I'm from Kuliah of Nursing, UIA Kuantan campus. So I traveled 3 hours from Kuantan, not this morning, yesterday. Right, so about last year from May to September, our team worked together with Yayasan Hasanah for a research project entitled Review and Mapping of Mental Health and Psychosocial Support in Malaysia with the focus on adolescents' mental health. So it is a great pleasure today to share with you the findings of our research. Actually, we work together with other 3 members, Dr. Said, also from UIA, Dr. Vidya, and also our research assistant. All right. Okay. So 6 years ago, our National Health Mobility Survey have indicated that 1 in 5 adolescents had mental health issues, especially depression. Okay, so 1 in 5. Based on these findings, there's a recommendation that there is a need of mental health monitoring at school and also at the pre-university level, and also to strengthen the counsellors' confidence in terms of monitoring the students' mental health status at school. And there should be a mental health awareness among the community as well as a peer support group to be introduced within our community as well. However, there is a limited groundwork that could map out the accessibility and also suitability of that kind of services and program to support mental health or adolescents' mental health in our country. And that's why Yayasan Hasanah come with one project, working with Yayasan Hasanah in order to understand the current context of adolescents' mental health in Malaysia, and also to identify if there is any services, any programs, any guidelines available specific to the mental health, adolescents' mental health in our country. So here is the specific objective. I'm not going to read all because they give me 10 minutes only to finish. I try as best to finish within 10 to 15 minutes, inshallah. So our team were given 24 months, 24 weeks. 24 weeks to complete this kind of work. So I was so lucky at that time. I was on research leave, sabbatical, so I put 24 hours for this project. So I don't have class, I don't have clinical at that time, so I was so lucky. So we divided the project into 3 phases, phase 1 4 weeks, phase 2 and phase 3 10 for each. And in the first phase, we did the review. We did the desk review, we did the scoping review. So for the desk review, we're trying to get the documents, the guidelines, the policy available regarding adolescents' mental health in Malaysia. And we also search at the relevant ministry's website in order to identify this kind of document. For the scoping review, we search for the reference or benchmark if there is any available program services that we can make a reference in order to guide. So this kind of reference actually does not only come from Malaysia but come from outside as well. So we had 26 papers altogether talking about the programs that can be used to support adolescents' mental health. That's phase 1. So phase 2, we did online snapshot survey involving almost 1,000 students across Malaysia. And these students are at the age of 10 to 19. So they come from primary school, secondary school, as well as matriculation or pre-university students. So we use SurveyMonkey, we use online, we use depression, anxiety, and also stress scale. If you heard about DAS-21, I believe that many of us know about Minda Sihat or DAS-21. So we use that kind of scale and we distribute it through online to the students. So we use cluster sampling. That's why we get 4 states over here. We have Pahang, Perak, Negeri Sembilan, and Selangor. That's phase 1. In phase 3, we did semi-structured interview with the stakeholders. So we have 15 stakeholders. So out of these 15, 7 of them are school counsellors, 2 psychiatrists, 2 clinical psychologists, 2 NGO representatives from NGO, and also 2 parents. So we aim to ask them, or at that time we tried to get their viewpoints, views, opinions, and perspective on the current challenges in taking care of mental health among adolescents, among children at school, And also we would like to know their roles in the policy making in relation to adolescents' mental health. Right, so here is the background of our participants, and majority of them Malay, Muslim, female, siblings 4 to 5, parents married, and B40 group, type of school, boarding, and educational level, majority come from secondary school, which is 62%. So that's for the phase 2 participants. For phase 3, 5 minutes more. So here is the characteristics of our stakeholders interviewed during phase 3. Right, so here are the findings. So can I move a little bit that side, because I'm not yep. Okay, so in phase 1, this is the finding from phase 1. Our desk review shows the increasing trends of adolescents' mental health, especially depression, and from 2011 to 2017, and secondary school student is at risk group, and the measure used in order to understand adolescents' mental health varied, so making it quite difficult to make a comparison from whether the trend is increasing or decreasing at that time. And while we notice there is several general mental health policies, there is a lack of mental health policies and programs specifically addressing adolescents' mental health. So therefore, we suggested from the phase 1, we suggested that we should focus for students at risk group, for example, secondary school students, and we may want to agree on the one method to identify all these kind of mental health issues among our adolescents. In phase 2, we identified that there is several high impact programs available, and 15, I mentioned just now that we got 26 papers, and more than half of this paper actually focus on school-based program, because they justify that schools are more familiar, less stigmatized for the students, more acceptable. And students talk more with their friends instead of talking with the parents when it comes to the mental health issues. Therefore, our recommendation is to initiate a school-based mental health intervention or school-based mental health promotion intervention to build resilience for the school children. And it should be noted that this intervention will not only include the school students and also the school counselors, but also include the parents as well. And among these are among the approaches and content that we should include in that kind of intervention. So in phase 3, we identified that there is a continuation of increasing the trends of mental health issues in Malaysia. We identify 1 in every 2 adolescents have anxiety symptoms, right? And 1 in every 3 experience stress and depressive symptoms. So I hope that you can bear in mind this one is the self-reported symptoms, it's not diagnosis, right? Okay, so compared to NHMS survey in 2017 just now, there is increased 10% rate of depression, 10% rate for anxiety, and 20% rate of stress level among our adolescents. We identified 5 key factors leading to depression, anxiety, and stress, which are secondary school, female, boarding school students, having siblings 4 to 5, and those from B40 categories. In fact, B40 categories, they have highest level of anxiety as compared to other categories. So again, we emphasize the need of school mental health promotion program, and we hope that these findings can be shared with the school counselors so that they aware of this kind of risk factors. Right. So the next one is the semi-structured interview. So we identified that from our interview, the mental health issue have caused low academic performance and increased suicidal behaviors. Right. But yet, policy and pathway to help seeking were unclear. Specific guidelines for adolescents' mental health were unavailable, and parent awareness and cooperation is still low. And we also understand from our interview that because of the parents' knowledge and awareness, stigma around the mental health issues, it already caused delay in getting relevant professional help or intervention. So that's why we suggested a multidisciplinary team, not only involve people from school, but also have a link with the people in the healthcare sector, as well as community, NGOs, and parents. And I did hear Datuk mention about the training for school counsellors takes place by Yayasan Hasanah grant, so which is very good. And we also need to have a parents' awareness and involvement. I know it can be very hard to get them involved, but I think we need to do something to get them involved in our management for adolescents' mental health. Online approach is available. I believe at the moment we have helpline, hotline, but this should be made, more advertised, more awareness. People should know more about this one. So what I'm going to share a little bit further here. Right. Okay. So here is the excerpts or the description that our participant gave to us during the interview. Nice. Okay. Okay, so if you have a look at what school counsellor said, she said that parents who cannot accept it, there's stigma, parents don't know about that, and they cannot accept all the stigma around the mental health issues. And the stakeholder number 10, school counsellors, sometimes the mother doesn't even know that the child has an issue, and they only come to know when the teacher calls them. And this actually synchronized or consistent with what parents share with us, what they said that actually his brother told me that he saw the wound at his hand, which is the self-harm wound. And I can see it too, but I didn't ask. But when his academic performance doesn't go well, then I become concerned. After so long, then only I came to know that he had depression. He was bullied at school, and I know nothing about that. Right? So this actually the parents, the kids already make suicidal attempts, not suicidal attempt, but climb to the, go to the 13th floor of their flat and try to jump, but the action was stopped there. But the parents doesn't know, only after the teacher revealed to the parents, right? I was crying, when the interview, because I think it's so sad. I am parents, so many of us parents today, so we can really understand the parents' experience and feelings, right? And when it comes to the psychiatrists, and again, the psychiatrists stress on the stigma, parents feel ashamed. And interestingly, the psychiatrists talk about how we should empower our nearby clinic, because at the moment, if you want to go and seek help from the clinic and you are 18 and below, you have to come with your parents. You should have the parent consent. So she was suggesting if we can have special pathway where the kids can come straight away to the clinic without getting the consent in the entry point, right? And she also suggested on the building relationship with the counselor, where the psychiatrists, for example, they have the connection with the school, and this can help the school counselors, for example, to get advice from them straight away, directly to them, so that we build some confidence level. And actually she had one ongoing program with the school counselors nearby Ampang, which is very good. And the next one is, at the moment, I believe that some of us might know Mentari. So the psychiatrist suggested if we can have the kind of Mentari concept where we have community mental health project or program for adults. So we should have one for adolescents as well. And very interesting, where the psychiatrist said our medical officer in the clinic also, they need training, because when the patients come at the clinic, they don't know what to do. They know how to assess. So they said that you need to have training for those working in the health clinic as well. Right, so I think the last one. I think it's a bit lagging here. So let me just wrap up, I think. So as a conclusion, we believe that there is increasing trends of the mental health among our adolescents, especially depression and anxiety. And a school-based mental health awareness or school-based intervention program should be initiated in the school, involving not only school counselors and students, but also involve their parents, peers at school, as well as the what we call the community NGO. And what is the last one? The school counselors also should be aware of the high-risk group that I mentioned just now, so that they can pay some attention to this kind of group with higher risk of developing mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Doctor. I think you guys can hear me fine. But now we're opening the floor for the Q&A session. We have a few mics. Any questions from the floor? Or no at the moment?
No, thanks.
Malu.
Maybe later. Yeah.
Maybe later
Maybe
lah,
later,
later lah.
yeah.
Makan kari pap bersama sembang. Lain sikit, lain macam dia punya Q&A guys. So, thank you so much, Doctor. Can you give it up for Dr. Okay, now the mic is back on, and I hope that you guys who are running your own mental health projects here have benefited a lot from the session. Hopefully, could shape, how you approach your projects. And now has come the time for the second part of the event, the Mental Health for Vulnerable Youths panel discussion. Brace yourselves for a thought-provoking session where we'll hear diverse perspectives people from diverse backgrounds. When you bring together different people, I think that's where the magic happens, kan? And we've certainly curated an interesting mix of speakers who will contribute their valuable insights to the discussion. Now, without further ado, let's invite our panelists to take their seats and get ready to share their expertise. Please welcome Dr. Nora Shikin Ibrahim, the head of the National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health at the Ministry of Health, Farzina Balan, dipersilakan, the Special Projects Director of Saura Industries, Farihin Ufia Muhammad Azim, the co-founder of the Mental Health Aid Association, Nyawa. And guiding our discussion today, tak lain tak bukan, the moderator is Ethan Ganes. Ethan is currently pursuing a master's in counselling at Monash University. In his capable hands, Ethan will facilitate the conversation and ensure a fruitful discussion for us all, inshallah. Ladies and gents, again, let's give him a warm welcome. Ethan, over to you.
Just a quick test. Can everybody hear me? Okay, fantastic. So we know we are ready and about to begin. So just a quick note about myself. As has been highlighted, my name is Ethan. I'll be your moderator for today. I have a little bit of experience. Of course, our panelists have the most experience. I'm completing my master's in counseling at the moment. I'll be done next week. I see a lecturer or two here. And of course, I represent as well the Reframe Project, an initiative that tries to connect experts with the public. And we hope to get that done today as well. Now, before we begin, as our host has highlighted, we've got a pretty wide array of experience here. And the challenge is always, we want to know, what are we really comprehending from this conversation? So to start us off, we've got 40 minutes, so let's begin very succinctly. So if we could get our panelists to just quickly introduce themselves, tell us your name, what you do, and how does that relate to our topic of today. We'll just go this way. We don't need to draw lots.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Farz. I'm the Special Projects Director at Saura. So why we are here? Because previously, yes, Saura is known more for the community development initiatives, solar power and water filtration system and such. But starting from actually in between our projects, what we found that we have been called, which means that terpanggil, there is a need at the grassroots for us to be more active in mental health programs, and we found ourselves involved with drug addicts, recovering drug addicts, juveniles incarcerated in prisons. We have banduan prisoners, male prisoners, female prisoners, parolees, and ex-convicts. So we found that we were called, and we found that that was our specialization lies in that area because we could really reach the grassroots. And we have received lots and lots of support from the government, the officers. There is a real need there. And that's why we are here to find collaborations and synergy with all of you here. So I'm really excited to get your input and your questions, and of course from the experts here.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you to Mr. Moderator, panelists. I would also thank you Datuk Shahira and Yayasan Hasanah. Tapi I would also, I have familiar faces here. I will have to announce, I'm sorry. I welcome Yang Berbahagia Datuk Dr. Ding, which is actually mantan of our ex-boss in KKM, mantan pengarah Kesihatan Negeri Perak. And also a good friend, a long friend, Datuk Dr. Andrew Mohan Rush, this president of MMHA. Mungkin ada ramai yang tak ni kenal. So I'm Dr. Nur Ashikin Ibrahim, or I'm known as Anne. Kalau and mental lah selalu orang daripada dulu lagi sampai sekarang. So sometimes people make a joke out of it. Anyway, I'm my background, I'm a public health physician. I'm neither a psychiatrist nor a clinical psychologist or counselor, but I have been in mental health field for the past approximately 20 years, and I've been working in the Ministry of Health for the past 28 years, kalau tak silap saya lah. Lepas tu, I have been actually, in terms of mental health, the passion actually, I think, I do not know when the passion started, but I think when I was actually placed as a desk officer in doing mental health under pengarah bahagian pembangunan kesihatan keluarga in KKM. So since then, I have actually have learned that actually we need to put the priorities right, we need to put the hala tuju right. So whether come for example, like in terms of mental health, previously a lot of things we were focusing a lot of mental illness. We were focusing more on of course the treatment part started more, the primary healthcare part started earlier in the Ministry of Health, but the aspects of prevention and also promotion part started a little bit later. So I think on top of also we are focusing on certain target groups, so we need to prioritize. For example, kat mana kita nak fokus sekarang? So although we are talking about adolescents mental health, I'm also here because yesterday pun saya macam tak boleh tidur memikirkan kat mana hala tuju kita, because I feel that probably it's not that we're going in the wrong direction, probably the prioritization tu, because we are focusing more on the burden of the children and adolescent, we actually kadang-kadang teroverlook on what the other aspects yang sepatutnya kita attack. In terms of that. So maybe I will share a bit of what I think personally and what is our hala tuju, especially as the National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health has been given the mandate, walaupun belum formal, but basically has been given the mandate to actually look into the coordination and also the strategization of the mental health agenda and landscape in Malaysia. So I take that responsibility. And I think for the last few years I'm in service ni, insyaAllah, because kita pun bukan lama kan nak pencen, tapi kita akan bagi peluang kepada orang-orang muda, yeah. So that's why I think one of the things that I feel apa orang kata terpanggil untuk nak cepatkan this agenda selagi nyawa dikandung badan lah, insyaAllah. Okay, Assalamualaikum. So thank you.
Hello everyone, good morning. Very honored to be here, not only to learn from the experts in the panel, but also the many experts in the audience. I'm Farihin. My background is in neuroscience and psychology. I am the director and co-founder of Nyawa. Nyawa is a youth-led, youth-run organization. So our entire team is younger than 30, and we also cater to youth mental health. So I believe that's why I'm here. We do this systematically and holistically through our 3 divisions. One focusing on media, which is raising awareness, universal awareness raising through social and traditional media. And then the second division is in advocacy, so advocating for evidence-based policies. And the third is research, so conducting primary and secondary research on adolescents and youth mental health. So that's my introduction. Very happy to be here and seeing all the familiar faces in the audience. Over to you, Ethan.
I notice there's a moment when the audience is questioning whether they should clap. Can we clap for our speakers, please? All right, so we've nicely seen we've got a variety of perspectives. We have Fars coming from working with on-the-ground youth in various vulnerable capacities. We have Dr. Ann who can share with us on the bigger perspective. Where's mental health going in our country? Not just mental illness, where should we be targeting? And of course, we have Farihin to share with us what it's like working with youth and as well as her perspective leading in the youth mental health space. Now, with a diverse perspective, we saw from our speaker earlier how, we always hear in Malaysia the trends are going up, anxiety symptoms, depressive symptoms, stress symptoms, especially those of us on the field, it's hardly a question. But here we're speaking about vulnerable youth today. The mic seems to be equally excited as we are. And when speaking about youth, there's a danger of us always assuming every youth goes through these 3 things the same. So I wanted to start by getting a little bit of your experiences when you work with your engagements, and its various groups as well. What are the mental health issues that you see with the groups that you work with? Maybe if I could start with Farhan, can you start us off?
Yeah, okay, so. Hello? Okay, it works. So we, unlike FAS, we work with the general youth population. So we're not targeting any subgroups specifically, but we make all our beneficiaries fill out pre and post data. So this is data that we've collected from over 1,000 beneficiaries. And the data is very much aligned with epidemiological data, as well as the data that Dr. Siti has already presented. The most prevalent symptoms and diagnoses that we see are the meat and potatoes of human suffering: depression, anxiety, and stress. We also see in lower prevalence the psychotic illnesses like bipolar disorders and schizophrenia, but not as much as depression, anxiety, and stress, of course.
Okay, so I have requested to switch to this mic. Testing. All right, fantastic. So speaking to that, in the general populace, it is the meat and potatoes. It's a very funny way to describe the general explanation. But yes, Fars, can you also tell us more? What do you see when you work with a very specific youth?
Okay, I would like to add here actually. I would like to refer to Dr. Siti's research where they found where the group that is at risk is from 13 to 18. And I can clearly see this being reflected. Not to be exaggerating, Ethan, but you can see those who are in the juvenile system, in the institutionalized, in the prisons, I would say, Sekolah Henry Gurney, they have been there for 3 to 4 years, right? So if they are going to be released when they are 21, 20, 18, 19, which means they have undergone sentencing for 3 to 4 years. And you work backwards and you see that, when were they incarcerated? That means they went there when they were 13 or 14. And 13 or 14, exactly the age when we found that, there was a high prevalence in depression, anxiety, and what was the other? Stress, okay. And of course, we see those who are not in prison. Of course, we would reflect as they had suicidal thoughts. They acted on it to a certain extent. But we should also see, those who ended up in the prison. Why did they end up there? They actually turned to drugs. They were trying to find the thrill, the excitement in life to bring them up. When you talk to these children, I would call them children. They did not have any wrong intent, tak ada niat jahat. they were trying to self-medicate. I'm depressed, I look for something exciting to bring back the spark. I'm stressed, my friend said that this particular drug or alcohol could help. You know, I'm lonely, I'm neglected by my family, I can't connect with people. I go into a group that accepts me for who I am, and we end up, you know, breaking into homes and all that. So we can, we need further research there, and it's not Saura's expertise to do that, you know, but going into this, you can see that they are not bad kids, they're not bad individuals. They fell off somewhere along the line when they were 13 or 14 years old. Yeah.
Thanks, Fars, for sharing that. I think that's a wonderful observation because as Farihin is sharing, she's actively seeing the pre and post. There are the highest scores for depression and anxiety. And Fars just brought up, if that continues and if we don't address that, we leave room for things to get worse. And what is the role our system can play to ensure they come out better than they went in? So thank you for that highlighting. Dr. Ann, do you have anything to add on to that from what you're seeing with the youth in our country?
Okay, I think I would like to share the recent data of National Health and Mobility Survey 2022, which actually focuses on adolescents, pretty much in line with whatever kajian yang sedang dibuat oleh a lot of other people, including Dr. Rashida. But our dapatan showed that if you look at the outcome of mental health issues, that is the suicidal attempt, suicidal ideation, and suicidal plan. So everything is on the increasing trend. For example, the idea of to actually end one's life has actually increased from 10.0 prevalence in 2017 as compared to in 2022 it has increased to 13.1%. And then the attempt pun naik by 3% from 6.9 to about 9.5. So this is actually being done in school facilities. That means those aged between 13 to 17 years old. Probably the Form 6 were not included at that point of time. Jadi daripada Form 1 sampai Form 5. Yeah. And if just now kita tengok 1 in 4 has depression, so we now have 1 in 5 has depression. Last year we had 1 in 4, so makin meningkat lah. And if we look at the data also, one of the factors here, what I'm seeing also is actually we also actually measured prevalence of loneliness, which also increased from increasing trend. 2012 8.1%, 2017 9.3%, 2022 16.2%. Jadi one of the things that we are missing, I think, when we look at kalau kita tanya kebanyakan siapa yang ada anak remaja, the youngsters, the words like I just wish I will die, or I just wish that I'm dead. Okay, I just want to end my life. You know, those are dia senang sangat nak cakap. Very simple, very it's easy to just say that, you know. Kalau dulu, and I've got parents, like for example, I'm seeing the landscape that whatever it is, the children and adolescents, they are actually aware. They are aware, and they are actually some yang practice good mental health, some yang, you know, but they are aware. The awareness in the children and adolescent is actually very high. The fact that they are showing this, okay. So one of the things that and we have lots of programs in school. Contohnya kita punya Minda Sehat daripada tahun 2011. In fact, I've worked on the Minda Sehat or Minda Sejahtera since 2005 already. Tapi it was so difficult to penetrate certain agencies. And we have Pearl program Lestari. We have Prosis program in the university. We have Happily program. Yeah, even the co-curriculum in the school that are targeting to the children are there in school. They are practicing the program, they are entering the program, whatever it is, they see the counselors are aware, you know. And for example, I can tell you, you go to any school, you speak to the counselors, they can tell you how many children are actually having suicidal attempt. Dia boleh bagi figure, 16 doktor. Dia cakap kat saya, example. And I don't, what are we going to do about it? Because they know, and this repetitive punya idea is there. So this is the scenario that we're seeing in school. But what we are not actually looking into is actually the parents. The parents. Because if you look at tadi, Dr. Rashida punya findings ya, when we talk about the parents are saying, dia kata, I think the two psychiatrists, you interviewed two psychiatrists, I was very, because if you were to interview more, mungkin kita akan dapat a different perspective. But one of the psychiatrists said Desmond Tari, and one of the psychiatrists said maybe we can empower, siapa, parents ke yang cakap we can empower the klinik kesihatan. Okay, you, I'm sure everyone knows about, not everyone lah, probably ada yang tahu pasal Child Act. And then kita tahu bahawa di hospital kita ada pegawai kerja sosial perubatan, and also pegawai kebajikan masyarakat that bertindak sebagai pegawai pelindung. So if for example, katakanlah ya, because we are not looking at the, if you ask the counsellor, they know how many, katakan yang ada mental issue, they know how many yang ada suicidal behavior. Okay, what we are not knowing now is actually what is the cost. Cost tu hanya dekat sekolah aja. Cost tu kat sekolah je yang tahu. Kaunselor sekolah akan tahu. When the person katakan, is this problem because of actually mother push anak dia nak pergi ke kelas sains hayat. Very simple things, you know. Is the environment at home is not conducive? Is it a factor keuangan? Kenapa budak-budak mencuri di sekolah? You know, these are all related. You know, because they have mental health issues, kadang-kadang tak cukup duit, you know, and we are doing, the government is doing programs of B40. But what we are not targeting here is the parents. How are we going to ensure parents understand that the mental health of this child is caused by certain social issue? Maybe it's not at home, mungkin peer support, mungkin bully, mungkin ni, mungkin tu. But those are the things that the counsellors would know. So when you interviewed the counsellors, I think that was fair enough. But looking at the service, bila anak-anak, the children knows what they're doing, but we need to educate the parents more. Not to just educate, I suppose to make them understand, because most parents, I went to one of the PIBG last week, and I was very disheartened when a parent say, dulu kita pun ada depression. Kan? So dulu kita pun ada depression, so we must push them to the limit, you know. Kan? So and I also take note that there are certain, you know, character that when you push them really hard, barulah dia shine. Ini pendapat separuh orang, because ada separuh fikir macam tu. So how are we going to sort of have majority of thinking that when we actually need to treat the children, you need to have that parenting, because what we are seeing now, tadi kalau tak salah saya pun terlepas pandang bercakap dengan when I talk to Cik Pilus tadi kan, our bonding, peer support increasing prevalence of peer support. That means we are supporting each other. The children dekat sekolah ke apa, we are talking about adolescents, children dekat sekolah, they are supporting each other. They have friends, they have ni. But the relationship between the individual, the child and the parents, turun, prevalence turun. So where is, kat mana kita nak target sekarang ni? So I am thinking about, yes, we have PIBG, semua orang cakap kan kita kena increasekan PIBG punya effort, kena ni, tapi siapa kepala dia yang nak coordinate tu? That is something, the challenge that we are thinking, macam National Centre of Excellence, we are thinking about it, because we are working. The programs are there. Macam contoh, Farihin is doing her part, you know, you are doing your part, a lot of other people are doing their part. Tapi sekarang ni we are looking, itu baru tengok dekat sekolah, the schools, pengurusan sekolah harian. We are not talking about the children who are actually living in the forms of parents yang gelandangan, you know, that sleeps under the bridge, you know, because I have that personal experience that actually I brought this particular few, about 10 or so, to a home of a friend, and we taught them tuition Form 5 semasa itu. Because they were although there are schools, these are some things that we need to look into, because kalau dekat education, Cik Pilus hanya jaga bahagian pengurusan sekolah harian. Cik Pilus tak jaga asrama, jaga ke? Tak kan? adalah, sekarang lah, dulu tak. Dulu tak. I had problems of penetrating boarding schools. Boarding schools dia punya problem lain. Because problem dia achievement. So these are, if you ask about my personal experience, because I have been long in PIBG of various schools, because I have my daughters semua dah jadi adult lah. I have only one adolescent now who is in Form 5. But going through that period, you have to understand parenting is not like before. You need to have good mental health to parent a child. Because if you don't have that, I take for example, my personal experience, both of my two elders are actually in the science stream, okay? But my youngest, I have changed him from a pure science stream to perniagaan. Because why? Because we see the potential. Tetapi now my child is telling me, Mama, there are some who are actually suffering, Mama, because why? He wants to do this, but he's being forced. And he himself knows that it's confidential, but I cannot tell you who. You see? Kan? But I kata, okay, never mind, I will help you to help support your peer. You know, this is a personal experience, but we're talking at large. Kita talk, macam I always tell, the policy makers, kita tak boleh tengok satu, tetapi we tengok at large. So what are we supposed to do? Because parenting is very important in the sense that if a parent understand the concept of mental health, I always go back to the mental health definition. Knowing a situation that someone, a person knows their potential, able to cope with the normal stresses of life every day, able to work productively or able to learn productively, able to contribute to the society. So if a particular child cannot cope and cannot actually be productive at the school, something must not be right. There's something that you need to do there. There's some intervention that you need to do. And of course, ada orang kata some children tak boleh. This is a lot of parents punya saying, maybe not for ni lah. Kalau bapa saya tak pukul saya dulu, atau bapa saya tak sekolahkan saya macam dulu, I will not be orang today. That is the ayat. But I don't think that should be repetitively said to actually tell your child that. You know, kalau abah tak sekolahkan, abah aku kalau tak sekolahkan aku dulu, abah, dia macam itulah. Bapa abah kalau tak sekolahkan abah dulu, tak pukul dengan kita pancuk, abah tak jadi orang tau. Kau pun tak lahir, dia macam tu. You just imagine, kan? These are the kind of, so my thoughts are actually, okay, just to cut it short, my thoughts are actually, we need to have a comprehensive community ataupun child adolescent mental health program as a whole, yes, but looking at where to target. So one of the areas that I told Encik Pilos this year, Encik Pilos, kita kena all out to target for the parents. Macam mana kita kena fikirkan bersama-sama? Because why? In parenting, in PIBGs, Parents Teachers Association, atau orang dulu kenal SPTA, we have parents, we have teachers, okay? But the hala tuju, the KPI are academic, mostly, you know. And even now, I'm also thinking of targeting the children, because I was talking to another public health physician yesterday, one of my officers dekat state. Dia kata, Doctor, I always bring my child for competition, pertandingan competition. Even in competitions pun, tak kira lah chess ke, squash ke, apa ke, golf ke, memanah ke, whatever, they have their kind of stress, their KPI. And the parents yang memang into that, you know, also are stressing the children because of the KPI. The school KPI, your KPI, because now kan kita letak kalau not just academic tapi dekat sana, but basically this is it. We need to actually move into the target groups. Maksudnya as much as you are seeing the adolescents kan, the clinic are seeing, clinic kita ada klinik mesra remaja, but how many people go to,
before we start a second
ceramah. Okay, sorry. Okay,
No worries.
I will stop there and then apa ni, nanti kalian Parihin tak boleh cakap pula kan.
Your speaking is like you're singing. I think we don't mind listening forever. the thoughts that I had in mind was before we start several research papers, I want to ensure we capture what you've said for the audience. What I'm hearing is that the reality is many of our mental health professionals know that it's not good. And they know the number of students, they know the severity, they can tell you that there is a problem. But what they can't say is where exactly the problem is coming from. And more so than that, how can we equip parents, not just with the skills, but with the understanding that not all pressure creates diamonds, and that maybe depression is not the reason you were born. Okay. That's the only thing I was thinking, because we essentially heard Dr. N say, my father was terrible to me. If he wasn't terrible to me, you wouldn't be born, which is hilarious when we talk about it from that viewpoint. But tying that in, Dr. N, I can't help but notice when we were speaking also, we have Farihin here who can tell us a little bit about what does it look like when youths actually access these services. Could you tell us about what you're seeing? What do you think is missing?
Okay, so a few days ago, actually, we just had a program with persons with lived experience. So a lot of young people with clinical diagnosis came in for us to understand where are the policy gaps. So actually, Dr. N herself was involved in this program. And a lot of them, and this is, I think, obvious to many of us in the mental health space, almost every week we see programs by young people addressing youth mental health. They are aware, they are convening, they are forming associations and communities to raise awareness amongst themselves. They are reaching out to NGOs, they are calling the helplines. To me, from my groundwork and from the data that we have seen as well, the issue does not lie in young people not being aware. And I agree completely with Dr. N. What these persons with lived experience have expressed is that they have trouble accessing services because they do not have parental support. And it's a double whammy for these individuals, because not only are they the ones that are more likely to have mental health issues because of family issues, but they don't have the resources to access mental health services because of family issues as well. And so because of this, I think that a common thread that we have seen from Dr. Siti's research, as well as what Dr. N has said, is that we should target parents actually, because the main gap that we see is awareness amongst parents, because children and adolescents do not have the resources to access the services themselves. And there are all these ethical considerations as well, because in psychology, these things are very strict. You need parental consent if you're under the age of 18. So we need to consider what kind of policies could be put in place to ensure that they have the help that they need, but we do not cross these ethical boundaries. So these are difficult conversations that we have to have in order to make sure that real vulnerable children and adolescents get the help that they need. So to sum it up, I would say that awareness programs are good, but they should come hand in hand with interventions, both clinical ones as well as community-based interventions.
Thank you. Sorry, you did a very misleading karaoke pullback. So I think that is a wonderful emphasis on the fact that there is awareness in many of the youth groups. It's the accessibility. And of course, as Dr. Siti mentioned, maybe we should explore a pathway where youths can access these services. We need parental consent for even researching which bubble tea flavor is best amongst youth. What more for mental health services? I think Dr. Siti's research in part also mentions this is a concern because some parents may be the cause as well. And that's something that's very hard to run away from. But before we tangent off, Fars, I know that your population is different, and the things that are missing is also different. Could you tell us about what you're seeing?
Okay, so I was just reflecting on, we were talking about, like Dr. N was talking about the missing parents in the picture of these children who are growing up, these adolescents are growing up. And Farhan was saying that, it's true, the youth nowadays, they have access to everything. They're more self-reflecting and aware, and they know that what needs to be done. My friend is having this, this is what do I need to do to have a good mental health and all that. But then it comes to the parents as well. Now, when we talk about parents, like for our population where they are in institution, we can say that it's the form of attention, because when you go back to those case files and see why are they there in the first place, when you're 13, you're supposed to be the ward of your parents. Adalah di bawah penjagaan ibu bapa, bukan setakat fizikal, tempat tinggal, makan dan pendidikan, tetapi juga the attention to not dapat A ke B ke C. Whether ada kelar ke, depressed ke, kurang bercakap ke, tengok kawan dia siapa, too much on the handphone, or stuff like that. And the funny thing is, not funny, I would say interesting thing is, when this, we are having a program with, the current program that we're having with 50 juveniles. They're about to be released back to society. So for the past 3 to 4 years, 5 years even, some of them, they have been in an institution. In that institution, I would say that Malaysia has, we are very compassionate. The Malaysian government is very compassionate. We have programs, we have some sort of a pembimbing rakan sebaya happening. We have counsellors, we have the prison officers who are very in tune to the feeling of this youth. Semuanya dijaga rapi, And when we give them the attention, they're about to be to go out to further their studies or to work, In the beginning, where we come in, Saura comes in as the pre-employment stage while you're in the institution. So, in the beginning of the program, we ask them, okay, let's find out what your strengths are, what your passion are, and all that. The kind of, I've been here for 4 or 5 years, I'm not so sure, but, so it's okay. They're young kids, and the school has done their best to put them in place, discipline them, get them stabilized, regulate their impulses and their thoughts, But the fear of going out. But let's see, with a little bit of attention, like the program right now is funded by Yayasan Hasanah. With a little bit of attention, the program of facilitators, they go in, and weeks, we work with them, find your strength, what are your passion, wow, encouragement. These small words of encouragement, the warmth, the attention. When these 50 participants did their SWOT analysis in the beginning of the program, they were like scribbles or tak tahu, because we don't want to force them, right? So we let them write what they want to feel. After a few 3 months, you could see them strength. Saya ada SPM. Saya boleh membawa motosikal. Saya pernah ada lesen motosikal. Saya pernah ada, keluar nanti saya tinggal nak refresh. Okay? Saya ada ibu yang menyayangi saya. Saya pernah bekerja di Dobi. They are able to find the strength with that little attention given. There are apps, there are talks, there are programs in schools, there are interventions being done. But that little attention, if given by parents or the caretakers, before they are at the stage where they are in real trouble, right? While they are going through the process of having depression and thoughts and all that, and even after, if we're able to do that, these are children. We parents, I'm a parent myself, and Dr. N is saying, this parenting is a full-time thing. We need to admit that we need to learn. We need to relearn. We need to go to professionals for advice and all that. And it's something of a challenge, I would say, because everything else is in place. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that highlights the fact that sometimes what's missing is a sense of attentiveness, that consideration for what might my child be feeling and what might they be good at. I think that's such an important point, especially when you said that. Maybe we need to add one more way of viewing our children, not just academically, not just in terms of friendships and whatnot, but also can we make it a role of ours to be attentive? I think we've spoken a lot about concerns with parents, with what the awareness is like out there. One of the things I'm very curious about, Dr. Ann, I think I had a pleasure of speaking to Major Bersekutu, Kasturi Bai, a couple of weeks ago. She was talking about how a lot of focus needs to be done with parents, giving them skills and equipping them. Could you tell us maybe, among all the programs that we have, is there one program you think the audience should know about for parents that works? It's a very cheeky smile. I'm curious to hear about the program.
I think for parents, kalau kita nak kata for parents, a specific program for parents, boleh ke Cik Pilus kita nak kata tak ada yang menyeluruh. It is not, there is no, how do I say, there's none in the sense of holistic program specific for parents. Okay, we have, for example, we have parenting skills program in LPPKN. But it's basically open to the non-Muslims. Parenting skills. Dia sebab lebih kepada macam perkahwinan, kursus perkahwinan. Okay. Then in the Ministry of Health, we have managed, how do I say, my team has managed to push the agenda to include parenting skills and in terms of a bit on mental health in the kursus pra-perkahwinan of JAKIM. So now it is there. Previously JAKIM, when dia hantar, when a person, let's say lah, Farihin belum kahwin, so Farihin, I take for example lah, Farihin katakan nak get married, Alhamdulillah, okay, jahat. Sorry, kena pergi kursus pra-perkahwinan. Okay, so kursus perkahwinan tu, if you look at the module, they will teach you about tanggungjawab isteri, tanggungjawab suami. But on the kesihatan module side, which is kesihatan keluarga, they will teach you about non-smoking, they will teach you about alcohol, pemakanan sihat. There was none on mental health. So I sort of scrutinized the module lah. I macam tengok macam tu, sibuk lah. Ini menyibuk lah, Dr. N ni memang menyibuk. So I managed to push through that. That means how do you identify problems? How do you do problem solving? How do you handle conflict management? How do you handle anger? Takkanlah bila baru-baru kahwin tiba-tiba kalau dah tak ubat gigi tak sama nak bercerai. Benda-benda macam tu. These are things yang macam kadang-kadang appear bila saya tengok dekat paper kan, kadang orang ni bercerai sebab ni kan. Young couples, how do you address that? Itu baru cakap pasal parenting, belum cakap pasal marriage. How do you equip yourself in the times of communication, things like that. Belum lagi cakap pasal parenting. So I feel that in the Ministry of Education, we have kumpulan sokongan ibu bapa. We have a KSIB. How many here, how do I say, do not know about KSIB? Pernah? My God. Okay. How many? Prof pun tak tahu KSIB. sorry Dr. Andrew. I must bring you down. Okay, bring you down to the... KSIB is actually a kumpulan sokongan ibu bapa. Allow me Cik Pilus. Tak lama dapat doktor lah tu, insyaAllah. Okay, is a kumpulan sokongan ibu bapa, the acronym for KSIB. So KSIB falls under PIBG, Parents Teachers Association, Persatuan Ibu Bapa dan Guru. So in certain schools, KSIB are very active. They are very active in the sense that they help the school to achieve the KPI. They assist students. They do a lot of kelas kecemerlangan. So I feel that I've always told this to Cik Pilus. Boleh tak Cik Pilus? They have their KPIs. So boleh tak kita letakkan parenting module ni as one of the KPI dekat KSIB? Cik Pilus tak boleh jawab I lagi. Okay, so because we need to speak to the stakeholders, we cannot be going, because a lot of NGOs, ada yang beritahu saya, Dr. N, can we get a letter from KKM to actually go to schools, to do programs? We have very good programs. I can understand, but I cannot give you that authorization. The authorization must come from KPM, because KPM dia dah ada modul, dia dah ada apa. So now, how do you fit the puzzles? This is important. The puzzles tu, kita ada satu cake besar, so everybody nak contribute to make that cake, bukan the other way round to take away the ni kan, tetapi to contribute so that it becomes a nice cake. Macam tu lah. So basically, I think parents kita kena ada people with backgrounds as probably teachers. Teachers, I will stop in 1 minute. Okay. Teachers, maybe with some mental health background, and then we have had along my way. Tadi I met with someone who is a nurse, who is a counsellor, and also she holds 3 posts. These are the kinds of people yang kadang-kadang boleh tengok many fields, you know. So I think parenting, as we said, parenting is important, and it's not about teaching the parents how to parent, but basically telling them that, you know, this is a different world altogether now. Is your children talking to you? Ni cuti sekolah cuti sekolah. Siapa yang ada anak sekolah tahu bahawa daripada hari ni sampai 5th of June cuti sekolah. So children are at home, you know, but parents are not at home. Parents like me tak ada kat rumah. You know, I lucky me, I have my spouse who is at home, working from home, tak ada masalah, but parents are not at home most of the time yang working, and the children are at home. So I've got this parent saying that what do you how do you interpret this when a father in an announcement kata actually kan when the children comes at home, this is the period where the parents who are working, when they go for meeting, they lose their voice. What is it implying? It's implying that kat rumah you jerit sebab you stress dengan anak-anak ada kat rumah. So most of them want to push everything in school. Senang kalau tak ada cuti sekolah, lagi senang duduklah kat sekolah tu. No, this is the what when I hear that, it's like ya Allah, so sad. You know, kita kalau boleh, kita nak sangat anak tu duduk rumah, datang sekolah, cuti sekolah tu, we spend the time with them, we talk to them. So how many other children, how many of them actually bila balik rumah, masuk bilik, you know, bila nak makan pun WhatsApp, turun makan. Because why? Because communication. So I feel that parents should actually be aware, ataupun at least dia ada some insight that if my communication is good, let's improve it further. If I think my communication is not so good with my child, you know, how can we get this communication right? I've got parents who actually texted me, Dr. N, how do you establish communication with your child? Does your child tell you about this, about that in school? How come I don't know, how come you know? Dia cakap macam tu. So it's a little bit sad kan benda-benda macam tu happening. So and then as you grow older, you dah ni kan, you tend to that bonding dah tak ada. That bonding of even telling, Is, do you tell your mother if you have a girlfriend, Dr. Is? No, oh my God, no. Tembak Is. So tak apa. Okay, so as and when until you know you tak rasa takut nak bagi tahu dekat your mom, this is where my hala tuju is. This is what I want to do, mommy. This is what you may not agree with me now. Tak apa, mommy, but please guide me. You know, benda-benda macam tu. Does the children to that extent? So kalau benda tu berlaku, depression tak ada, insya-Allah, kan? But now we look at the data, we're like, oh my God, you know, what is the cause? So parents may not agree kalau kita kata the main cause is actually at home, tetapi a lot of things starts at home, kan? So and kita ni banyak yang ditakut, macam children, they penguatkuasaan tu takut, kan? Kalau katakan married tu maksudnya sekarang ni, if let's say lah just an idea daripada I tengah tidur, katakanlah parents, we were to tell parents, if parents you belajar khusus parenting ni, anak you dapat merit in school, dia nak tak? Mungkin, kan? It's an idea. I tak tahulah. Mungkin. Parents in every school, you pergi belajar khusus parenting, you come out with a certificate, tak kira lah kat mana you belajar, okay? Anak you dapat merit 10 point dekat sekolah.
It's creating policy life for us. Always fantastic.
Betul tak? Because sometimes it's so difficult. Kita hamput, sorry lah my words, kita hamput budak tu suruh expand in school, belajar, dapat ni, pergi chess, masuk ni dapat point, pergi program, katakan program dekat Masjid Besi, dapat point, kan? Budak-budak yang tak pergi tak dapat point. Tapi cuba kita attack parent macam tu. Parents, you do this, you help with this, dapat point tu pergi ke anak you. Kan? Dia nak anak dia excel, kan? Tapi of course at the same time, the school pun kena tengok the children lah juga kan. But maybe that is where the way. So just to close up my what do you call not my hala tuju lah. The National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health is calling for a collaboration. We are looking at the community child adolescent mental health program. That means as a whole. Maksudnya who will be responsible? Kita dah ada National Strategic Plan for Mental Health, but basically I think the loophole is that we were not also focusing so much, kita lebih kepada general, we're not focusing so much on the adolescents. So we are coming up with a module mental health literacy. I'm also later insyaAllah working with Dato' Andrew to come up with a module for GP, because kita kena, every level kena beef up. Kalau katakan dia ada problem, parents ada problem, children ada problem, pergi GP pun tak tahu macam mana nak handle, ataupun pergi klinik kesihatan pun tak tahu mana nak handle, pun problem juga. So this is where we need to have a look at every level, and I think everybody's doing a good job. So I welcome the collaboration. So insyaAllah soon kita akan buat benda tu lah, somewhere in middle of June. We are calling for a meeting. So among the NGOs yang akan terlibat, the young NGOs lah yang akan terlibat dalam this whatever policy making ni, will be Nyawa, will be Scopus, will be probably a few others lah, maybe from Yayasan Hasanah pun, maybe from the universities. So we welcome mana-mana. We are calling the ones yang near juga, contohnya macam Cyberjaya punya university, because they do have a need. So one of the, everybody, banyak orang buat good programs at their place. It's just that mungkin tidak diwar-warkan. So okay, thank you. I'll stop there.
Have excellent control of your intonation to the point where we can never tell. Just like, got one more point to catch the audience back. It's fantastic. Okay, so speaking about that, I think we can get the sense that parents do need the help. I think Dr. N is KBIS, right? The support group? Yeah, I think as some KSIB. This is why we summarize. As someone who's been in the PIBG, I think 3 times, I think Dr. N is someone who's able to say that that's something that's beneficial to us. Now, just very quickly as we wrap up today, I think one thing that's super important is for us to understand, we have all these different people, like Dr. N highlighted, but what does collaboration look like? So for that, Farzana, can I ask you, could you tell us, we have private, we have corporate, with public, NGO, as someone who has collaborated all across the place, what does collaboration for vulnerable youth look like?
Well, this is like multi-sectorial collaborations, and it's very much needed. One thing that is happening right now that I can clearly see, everybody wants to do something. Everybody wants to create an impact, to contribute, like Dr. Anna was saying, the cake. Everybody wants to put something into it. And this, we are talking about people, this young generation, our future, it's our future. But we also have to coordinate. And I feel that's where we need to know where our role is. We have the government agencies who has the policies, they see the bigger picture of things, And we have, of course, the specialists, we have the mental health council, and we have also the funders. We have, like, for Saura, for example, Yayasan Hasanah and a few other partners would be our funders, and we also have our partners, okay? Now, when everybody wants to do something, we need to know what we're good at, just like building something. We don't ask the tractor to lay the cement. We don't ask the laborer or the bricklayer to be the architect. But we get the input of everyone to build something. And when everyone does what they do, and you focus on it well, we don't look at each other as competitors. Saya buat ceramah ni, dia pun buat ceramah tu. Dia pun buat ceramah tu. Dia pun buat ceramah tu. Habis semua masuk, in prison or in a school. Everyone is focusing on school. But if we see the picture as a bigger picture, and we know our role, kita sedar diri aku kekuatan, and we look at each other as collaborators instead of competitors. Oh, dia masuk sana, saya masuk sini. Saya nak grant tu, saya nak grant ni. Saya nak bagi ceramah tu, saya pun nak ceramah ni. No. Then we are going all over the place.
Right.
With so little resources and so little time to work on this younger generation. We have to collaborate with each other and knowing our strengths.
Right. I think that's a very succinct idea, knowing specifically what is our role in mental health. Instead of working on developing 8 other arms so we look like an octopus, we focus on being human in the direction we know best. Now, I also want to ask Farihan, could you tell us very quickly, as a new, young coming NGO, what has collaboration looked like for you? What's been encouraging?
Yeah, so I think this is a sentiment that has been repeated by funders, by nonprofits, by even the government, and even Yayasan Hasanah themselves have expressed that we want to collaborate and make sure that everyone does not work in silo, because we already recognize that there are a large number of players in this space, but we need to coordinate. So coordination is a huge part of the problem. And like Faz has already expressed, everyone shares this sentiment. They want to collaborate. But I think that we need a framework to ensure that there is coordination in that collaboration to balance the systematic efforts. So make sure that we put enough work in awareness raising, advocacy, as well as interventions. So we need to monitor these things properly to ensure that there are people that are working in each space so that we don't pool our resources just in awareness raising, and that would lead to a bottleneck of people that are already aware, but they don't have access to services. So I think that is a very important thing to have.
Right, so meeting that specialization from the other end means someone needs to monitor where did the resource go and what specific area of mental health for vulnerable youth needs action, and then to rope in those parties that way. Okay, before we close up, we do have a Q&A session, but before we ask our questions, can we please give our panelists a round of applause? Now comes the part where we invite questions from the audience. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to find out more about, we have a variety of speakers working at varying levels. You can raise your hand. We'll get a mic over to you. Does anyone have anything they'd like to ask our esteemed panel? There is a question way at the back. Can we get a mic over to her?
Per se would affect, our plans on collaborations and whatnot.
Right. So if I'm hearing your question correctly, it's how do we include and acknowledge the role that the learning differences or the neurodivergent community can play, and how does that affect our interventions? Before we answer, just want to check any other questions. Okay, can we get another question, another mic over there?
Sorry, can you hear me? My name is Anisha. I'm from South African Initiative. So work primarily with refugees and asylum seekers, providing community-based mental health interventions. It was great to hear from the panel from the academic journey for systemic intervention, realizing that individuals, especially mental health problems, don't exist in isolation, but also impacted by other peers, family, friends, the school, community, and the wider society. And so I was thinking, I was wondering, I guess, because we're talking about vulnerable groups today, how can we then extend our support, our strategies, our plans to also include refugees and thousands who also face significant psychosocial stress on the and collaborate further and discuss.
Okay, so we have two further questions, both asking how can we expand. I think most pertinently, it adds on to our definition of vulnerable youth. So 2 groups, those with learning difficulties, or as we currently call them, learning disabilities, as well as refugees. How can we extend our hand in those circumstances? Would anyone like to take this question? The colorless one, colorful for panelists.
Being a social enterprise, a smaller entity, means that we are more agile, and we are not bound by certain policies that have been put in place, I would say, you know. So that would actually give the NGOs and social enterprises, the SMEs, to access certain pockets of population that are not necessarily covered by the government services. And we have to admit that everyone has their role. And for refugees, for example, we have like for Saura, so we can, or we have other partners who are actually able to access those certain populations, the refugees, the stateless, how to say, maybe unwed mothers, you know, because of stigma and all that, that may not be able to access service provided by the government or the bigger organizations. So that's where the SMEs and the NGOs and us passionate people come into place. Sometimes I know it would be much nicer to have everything in place and it encompasses everyone and everyone is happy and, you know, nice. But for now, what can we do? That's where we come in. The NGOs, the SMEs, we work with the grant providers and the individuals, and we can collaborate and may still make a change. Yeah.
So basically, in the end, Saura Industries, HAI, I presume there will be a conversation later. But yes, okay. And also, we do need to address the learning disability issues as well, Dr. Ann. How do those factor in, if you could tell us?
Okay. Basically, I think when we talk about adolescents or vulnerable, especially with those with learning disabilities, I know that in KPM, we recently I have had my officers to visit bahagian yang pendidikan khas, to actually look at how they run the program with those affected by learning disabilities, especially things like, for example, autism, dyslexia. And I know also a lot of personal friends who are actually struggling with actually finding where to actually get education for their children, because some of them are being put. And there are also minority of parents who are actually putting their children in the normal school. And they are, how do I say, they are doing well. They're doing well because the school environment itself understands how to handle this particular child. So basically, when we talk about the learning disabilities, for us, I can only tell for us representing the government, the Ministry of Health, we are working on that, especially through NGOs. That means dealing with how do we actually do programs for to address autism, for example, children with autism. And I think we are working with parents. So maybe, one of the NGOs, I think yang kita ada, contohnya macam NASOM, I think. They're doing good programs. So I think this is where we need to tap the resources. We cannot, my tagline yesterday when I had a meeting with my state to actually train them on what are the things to say when you go on social media, when you go on TV, because most of the people, what are the things to say about how do you sampaikan maklumat on mental health, especially to the officers, because I see a lot of people are talking about mental health, but sometimes what we want them to say, dia tak tercapai. So basically, these are where this is where we tap the resources. For example, like working with those who are actually doing the services already. So kita mainly, I do agree, we are working. We have given, as Hasanah has also done, I think Ministry of Health last year, we have given a grant to 52 NGOs who are doing the programs, whatever programs related to mental health, basically for different target groups. Yeah, that is one. The other area that I may want to actually touch upon is also looking at those refugees. These are another area yang bukan kata grey, tetapi we know the importance, but kita tak tercapai because of the short of resources. For example, I had an experience going down to the ground, because every Friday, I think not every Friday, third week of Friday, I think one of the organisation is doing some program dekat Chowkit to look at the children and also the adults. But there's also a small macam SME jugalah who's actually looking at the Rohingyan childrens. They're bringing in. So kalau kita tengok, there are gaps there. Because here we are looking at children who have parents, who have social support from school kan. But we are lacking in looking at those yang mungkin perlukan lebih support. Because they are there, they are here. Kita tak boleh orang kata nak suruh dia orang keluar daripada Malaysia pun. But they are here. They speak Malay more than a lot of Malaysians can speak. You know, I feel that these are the niche areas yang kita kena tap. Tetapi that is why if let's say katakan we have ideas, we have to, because sometimes when we meet a person kan, kadang-kadang bila kita jumpa, kita ada idea and we want to materialize it, we have to be there. We cannot just orang kata apa, nak put the idea but do not get it implemented. So here the policy makers needs also to macam this year, I think this year's World Mental Health Day, Dr. Andrew dia punya tema, I just got it, mental health is a universal right or something like that. Yeah, that is very very challenging. Bila kita cakap pasal universal right, yesterday somebody was asking me, Dr. N, is LGBT mental disorder? Ada orang tanya, tu dah sampai that part kan. So those are the concerns of, ini baru cakap pasal adolescent children kan, tapi they're talking about the other. So now when we talk about mental health is a universal right, it's going to be a challenge for us lah. Sebab there will be pockets, kalau universal right, you can do this, you can do that, you know, and there will be people from a lot of things lah, banyak benda that we can address. But basically I do value your opinion, but we will take that into account and we welcome you. Please come forward and engage so that we can have better ideas, you know. So I always have this motto that together we do better. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Han. And tagging on to that, if people do want to reach out to the policymakers, to the government and so on, where is one place they can go to make that connection?
We have, it's very simple, because National Centre of Excellence for Mental Health, although it is under Ministry of Health, we have, I believe that as a head there, as the caretaker, I wouldn't say as a caretaker of that National Centre for now, I am accountable and I am responsible to create that connection. So meaning to say that we work differently. We don't actually now go to kita tak ada macam terlampau, kita tak ada birokrasi ke apa-apa kan. So we work differently for people who wants to engage and we bring the experts together. Right. We bring, katakan, because dulu susah kan, daripada universiti, daripada mana, daripada agensi luar. So I take the words of our mantan of Menteri Kesihatan, with the blessing of the current Menteri Kesihatan, that NGO for the National Centre, NGO is your second home. Kan, smiling Datuk Ding pun betul Datuk, you can come anytime as long as tak nak tidur sana. Saya kata, saya jokingly, saya ada katil ya, 4 katil untuk because at the center we have what we have as the Talian Hill. We have a crisis. Kalau for those who may not know, the number is 15555, 15555. Kalau talian kasih is 15999. Kita 15555. We are doing we are receiving calls in terms of counselling. We have approximately 20 counsellors who are handling the talian by rotation. Anything related to mental health issues and mental health crisis. Just to share the data, we have managed to, alhamdulillah, saved 92 cubaan bunuh diri since 21st of October 2022, sorry, kita dah 2023. So of the cases, we've got about 150 suicide behavior yang call That means repetitive suicide attempt, suicide ideation, they have crisis kan. So they call us, our lines are open from 8 a.m. until 12 midnight. But somebody was telling Dr. N, kenapa tak extend 24? I kata, we try as so much, kita kena train Malaysians ni tidur daripada 12. That is another way of saying it lah. Kita kena train. Kalau katakan dia rasa, memang kata idea nak bunuh diri, yelah kalau you ada urge that, kena pergi emergency. Kena call polis lah. Polis 999 kan, memang ada. Kita ada dengan MERS, kita ada connection. So we work, if for example a person is at the edge of a building about to end one's life and they decided to call the talian, we've got that. A patient who's actually under the follow-up, relapse, and then suddenly decided they want to end their life, and dia masa tu at the verge of having that method, whatever methods they are, they call 15555. 15555, 15555. Lepas tu kita akan ada seorang counsellor akan stay with the patient, akan ada counsellor akan try to get the patient punya person punya close contact person yang dia agreeable, akan ada satu counsellor akan call police, akan ada satu counsellor will handle the kesihatan. So they go together dekat tempat tu, wherever the person is. So we managed to do that, alhamdulillah. So we are trying to push also for our postvention services. That means for those, kalau katakan ada family member yang actually the family member died because of suicide, pass away because of suicide, the disease tak ada siapa yang tahu. Even psychiatrist, I can agree, tanya Datuk Andrew, dia tak akan sampai pun pada Datuk Andrew sebab body tu akan dibawa balik ke rumah, tak sampai pun pada psychiatrist. Dia sampai mungkin emergency dia terus bawa pergi mortuary kan. So yang tahu forensik. So that's why we are trying to also we are in the Ministry of Health, I would say that we are struggling to develop our national suicide registry Malaysia, because semua kena tender, and now banyak proses, and kadang-kadang ada tender yang kena cancel. Dah dapat tender, orang tu tak nak, banyaklah isu dia kan. So we are trying our best, so please engage dengan kami. Kita bukanlah kata kita banyak sangat, but we will try to bring the kepakaran inside, because as long as we know, contohnya kalau benda tu katakan related dengan training module, kita work with ni. So that is how. So please, okay, 5 minutes done.
So 2 key takeaways for those looking for collaboration. 2 things: if you need to call and find out more about mental health services, call Talian Heal.
Mental services. If you need to know more, please email to ncemh@moh.gov.my. Nama dia NCEMH, National Centre for Excellence for Mental Health. Kalau you susah sangat nak tahu, you telefon ni, support saya. Tak adalah, saja kacau. He is the key person, Dr. Is the key person, especially for NGO, promotion and prevention. So that's why I brought him here lah. Okay, thank you.
And if you need to collaborate, reach out to that email address. The mic is cueing us that times are running out. Let's end very quickly because we don't have enough time. There are a couple of questions still here. We'll take one more to end it all.
Why mental health issues very important, but I just don't understand why we don't have classes teaching this in schools. That will solve almost 75% of the problem. This education and health ministries here, we have moral classes, which somebody should find out whether it's effective or not.
Okay, dekat.
What exact answer the teacher would want? Not doing anything. We have religious classes, but nothing on mental health. I think that a simple book like 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teenagers will solve 75% of these problems. That's all.
Okay, let's tag on with the next question.
Which is great to have parents here. So kind of my takeaway listening to the whole session was that it seemed like it's boiling down to the whole environment and parents in a lot of ways. Every time when we did, I spoke earlier about the school counselling program that we did with school counsellors. you know, the anecdotal kind of joke in those sessions is the teachers are asking, we ourselves make counseling.
Right.
Pun stress dia nak jaga anak murid dia. And then we have other anecdotal evidence in communities where when we do our community-based approach on poverty, urban poor and all of that, we believe that human beings are not one-dimensional. There are things, it's not just income, right? So we have nutritional programs, we have mental health programs, and when we did the mental health program, you see a complete new awakening of these women. Because first we masuk kita buat skill programs, so okay, they dah dapat income, but they, you know, they have issues, right, at the back, but they come to the program. But when we then started offering that support system from a well-being perspective, then they feel like, oh, I have a community, oh, I'm not the only one suffering these issues, they felt like they were open. And they became a more successful entrepreneur, a more successful human being, because now they feel supported and all that. So I do think, yes, I think anecdotally, memang everything that's been said, we do see it. And then, you know, I'm sure quite a number, I mean, you know, some of us, I mean, a lot of us here probably not P40 parents, ourselves have challenges raising children in this generation. Like I said, you know, it's very different. Parenting is so different these days. Like, we need skills. I need to know, you know, how to be a better parent, for example, right? Kids are so empowered these days with all kinds of things, but also they have their challenges. We have our challenges. We ourselves are addicted to whatever, you know. So then my question is, so you know, for Hasanah, memang we know things like family unit or it's a school environment. That's where all our communities are. Family unit and the school. And so in this deliberation for mental health, should we be now including other stakeholders like Ministry of Women and Family Development and you know, what kind of collaboration that we need to do? Because you're right, you know, parenting practices have been disrupted tremendously. It's like a new code. It's a new code, you know, of parenting. And even for us who have those resources, we're learning, but let alone parents who are in very vulnerable communities and already dealing with other things, and, you know, other issues. So, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I would like to know, because as we put money into schools and trying to help adolescents, we do our best. I mean, every time we do education, we know it's about the parents, whether it's student outcome and all that. And now it's reiterated again that you must include the parent. But how do we connect this from empowering the parents to become the catalyzer, the game changer? Sounds like starts with the heart.
So if I can just question, so we can be aligned. Your question is, how can we empower parents? What kind of collaboration needs to happen for that?
I think thank you, Datuk. I think two other agencies yang we need to actually, three in fact. To me, satu Kementerian Wanita, Ministry of Women, Family and Development. Dua, Ministry of Youth and Sports. In fact, I got a text from Ministry of Youth and Sport tadi, ada nak minta something kan. Tiga is Ministry of Kementerian YB Fahmi, Digital. Yes, yes. Because that is where digital tu, dia kalau katakan orang tak pergi parenting pun, tapi kalau ada crawlers, you know, tak ada, benda tu tak ada. It's not there as yet. And then I think with Ministry of Women, we have been collaborating, nak kata tidak, especially on the topic yang mental health and psychosocial support. Because they have about 100 plus counsellors, but they are not enough. They are not enough. And one of the things that I personally, the gaps that I always show in my slides, I tak tunjuk my slides kan, tapi the gaps that is there is actually the presence of social worker with a proper term of reference. Because social worker ni sahaja yang boleh pergi ke rumah Kalau dekat Datuk Andrew would agree with me, kalau dekat negara barat, I mean in other countries, social worker has the power. Dia akan ada power kalau ada, as tadi tuan kata masalah kan, if katakan kita ada curriculum dekat sekolah on mental health, we've also trying to, dulu kita pernah push for that, because when I went to Australia, there were 20 minutes being taught about bully. Tapi kat sini kita punya a lot of the policy makers, maybe not kita lah masa tu, felt that benda tu membebankan because dia menambah kepada kurikulum. There's a difference, curriculum and co-curriculum. So a lot of mental health punya what they call skills ke apa, dia masuk dalam program-program seperti doktor muda, dia masuk dalam program-program seperti yang HIV program tu adalah program minda sihat, of course, HIV program dulu, Prosta. Kalau siapa yang tahulah program-program kat sekolah, they are already programs, and then they are also in the modules of sexual and reproductive. So banyak, and then they are Ministry of Education pun ada program, ada bully punya awareness in school, banyak benda. So mereka merasakan tidak, bila you masuk dalam kurikulum, kurikulum yang sedia ada pun budak-budak dah terlampau stres. You know, for example, just to let you know, kalau katakan you belajar academic and hafazan in a Tafiz punya sekolah kerajaan, yeah, they wake up as early as 5:30 and they sleep as late as 11 o'clock. So you just imagine, full tau, they full. Sebab di sekolah macam private pula. Pagi hafazan tu 7:30 sampai 9:30. Lepas tu break sekejap, pukul 10 start sampai 4:30. Lepas tu 4:30 tu dia bagilah masa sikit nak main-main, pukul 6 dah pergi dah. Prep dah pukul 6:45. So you just imagine kan dia stress. So I do agree that I will love to have, kalau dapat 10 minutes ke 20 minutes of curriculum of mental health dalam masa 1 minggu 1 kali pun Cik Pilus, saya amatlah bersyukur. Tapi I'm from the Ministry of Health. Kan? So bila nak buat curriculum, you have to speak bukan dengan Cik Pilus yang nak agree, you kena cakap dengan curriculum punya caretaker. Yes.
One of the number one issues.
Itu cakap itu, tapi pada dia orang tidak. Itu yang tak apalah, kita pushkan lagi. Saya akan cakap parent, Cik Pilos kena jawab benda ni. Saya tak boleh jawab sendiri. Okay. So those are the three, Datuk, just to capture, those are the three few yang I think we have to work together. We have to. Anyway, I just want to inform that at the Ministry of Health level, we have Mental Health Promotion Advisory Council chaired by our Minister of Health, and one of the members is Encik Pilos and the team. And I think we need to incorporate more. We need to have more agencies rather than just and Dato' Andrew is also in the team. Dia juga salah seorang ahli majlis as an advisor. So saya serah pada Cik Pilos lah. Okay.
Encik Pilos, you have the challenge of sharing in 2 sentences. Let's try that out.
Okay, thank you for the question.
1 sentence.
Okay. not count yet. Okay, first about curriculum. There are one subject, health education. Health education. In health education, there are component where peers, pendidikan kesihatan reproduktif and social. There are 17% in peers are included with emotional and mental health. Started from preschool until Form 5. You can open the textbook after this, your children textbooks. There are also PBD, penilaian dan bidik darjah, to understand students' knowledge, skill and attitude about emotion and also mental health. And that's a good thing about curriculum. And other than that, we are promoting mental health through school council by Healthy Mind program, program Minda Sihat. So throughout the year, started with 4 strategy. 1, promoting. 2, early detection. 3, intervention. 4, consultation with parents. And 5, reference. So reference, last week we worked with KKM, whereby the student who had emotional problem, we can refer to professional at the clinic. So we have a mutual understanding how we can collaborate with parents who are what we call agree to refer or not agree. So we include JKM to help us, to help this youth. Okay? Enough time to me.
Encik Pilus has very wisely added
yeah.
commas in his sentences. Thank you for your sharing. Well noted on the fact that there are 4 strategies incorporated into the pendidikan kesihatan, and that's something for us to be on the lookout lah. If our children don't want to read it, at least we buka and go like, sini baca. I've been told we have one final question. We'll keep it very succinct. Can we please hear? I think, yes, over there.
Actually, this is not a question, just a comment.
Sure.
I think today's session was fantastic. I certainly learned a lot as well. And I see my friend Ian there probably taking down notes. And so definitely we can expect a feature on this from the Star, I'm sure. So that's good. But, you know, the discussion has been a lot on the mental health needs of youth, right, and adolescents. I think it's also wise for us to be aware that in many cultures, in many non-Western cultures, and Farhin will attest to this as well, that there is really no word to describe depression. It's often intertwined or interchanged with sadness. So even in our own word, kemurungan was a late entry as to describe a clinical entity. So we used to say kesedihan, or, you know, to rasa pilu, or mengada-ngada. You know, this sort of things have been the understanding. So when you look at it, you know, from a pathological and a non-pathological perspective, from the time of Adam and Eve, we have had people, adolescents, with clinical depression. They didn't understand it as that. They had depression. They had psychotic disorders. They had a variety of conditions that we now classify as a clinical entity. And adolescents would go through this as well. And that has not changed from those days until now. Perhaps some environmental factors has caused that prevalence to change a little bit. But the other aspect of it is all adolescents would undergo changes during this period of adolescence. And that is mainly caused by the biological changes in their body. Again, that has been the same from the time of Adam and Eve until now. And that is the definition of an adolescent. Of course, there could have been some changes because goodness knows what they put into the infant formula these days. So you have a whole generation of Malaysians who are far taller than those from my generation. So I suspect it's the infant formula. Don't know whether that has got an implication on hormonal changes, but that research has to be seen on that. But the other thing that actually matters is the social stimulation that affects adolescents. And that social stimulation has been really, berkembang dengan pesat in the last 20, 30 years. And this has never been seen in the history of mankind. So that social stimulation or overstimulation could be from the, digital use, as Dato' CEO has mentioned just now. It could be parenting, as Dr. Ann has mentioned just now. Goal setting by parents. And to me, I think besides all the social attributes which NGOs here, interested parties can actually change, these are the social variables that can be changed. And I'm sure we can discuss with Yayasan Hasanah on the funding aspect of this. But this is a wonderful opportunity to involve different ministries, different agencies as well. And more importantly, my personal interest in this is parenting, as Dr. Ann has mentioned before, how parents can contribute to the self-esteem of their children, have goal setting, and most importantly, to lead by example. This is something that we don't do here because you see there is not much difference from the generations as well, as Dato' CEO mentioned about the use of the digital usage. I remember years ago in TV3 they had shown in the news where a 34-year-old man was running around in town with that some Pokemon thing looking for something or whatever on the thing, and he met with an accident. Right, and I thought to myself, he's 34 years old. Let us say he got married at 25, he had a child at 27. He probably has a 7-year-old son, a child. Is this an example what a 34-year-old father will show his 7-year-old son? So parenting is also leading by example. What I'm trying to say is in that aspect, that spectrum, there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of tweaking these variables. However, on the other end of it, as we know, we always have people with depression, with psychotic disorders, and learning differences, and a variety of groups that are struggling to seek services. Now, as my friend Farihin has mentioned, and to be Dr. Farihin soon, inshallah, who has said that, repeatedly mentioned accessibility. It's not awareness. People are aware. A lot of youth are actually aware of these things, but how do they access services? Same thing Dr. Siti Roshaida also mentioned. How do we find a way for youth to access services despite not having parental support? Because the parents are going to say, "Jangan mengada-ngada. Don't, you're just making a fuss about all these things. Be strong." And as Dr. Ann says also, generations ago, that was a different case. But today, the social stimulation is different. So my lesson today, what I have learned from here, one of the biggest points that I take back, the take-home message is, how do we create a platform for vulnerable groups to access services, irrespective of parental care? And we must take into consideration the use of the digital media in this. Thank you. Sorry I took too long. Thanks.
No worries. I believe we were making repeated eye contact to see how many seconds we have left. Okay, we've spoken a lot. We've had a lot of conversation. Everybody's brain juices have been adequately squeezed. I think we close off. Just Farihin, could you tell us, I know normally we'd ask everyone, but just if you could close us off with, if all of us, we've heard a lot today, what is one thing our audience should go back home and do with regards to youth mental health?
Oh, so much pressure. So I see a lot of you are actually parents, assuming. So I would say that one thing we've seen is that, from the stories, is that, I'm treating my children this way because this was my formula to success, because my parents treated me this way. And the clinical understanding of this would be intergenerational patterns, right? We see repeated patterns of, I was abused, or I was pressured this way, and so I need to treat my children this way, otherwise they won't succeed. And so a part of this psychoanalytically is that you can understand that that's how you, as a parent, interact with yourself, your child self, and your teenage self to control your behavior, and perhaps reflect on that to understand how you're treating your children. So I'm not a parent, so I'm coming from a child perspective. So the takeaway would be to reflect on how we treat our inner child and how that would reflect on how we treat our children. Thank you.
Home and we think about how have we been raised and how does that impact how we raise others. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard a lot today. We've heard about parents, we've heard about schools. We've heard about, at the end of the day, we need to figure out how do we create that knowledge and that access. And I want to thank all of you here today for making the time to ask hard conversations and to be honest with everybody about where we are and what we need to do. Thank you for being here. Can we please give our panelists a big round of applause? Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. Back to our host.
Thank you so much, everyone. While we take your seats, panelists and our awesome moderator, we're going to have, we want you to remain here so that we could have our little token of presentation. Token of presentation presentation of token. Token of appreciation. Oh my gosh. No. Brain juices. It's all the juice, all the juice. And with that, we'll take away these seats. If you could kindly rise so that we can have a nice photo op in front right here. And with that, we would like to invite Dr. Siti as well to join us in front. And along with that, of course, to present the token of appreciation, we'd like to invite Datuk Shahira Ahmad Bazari, our trustee and managing director of Yayasan Hasanah. Yeah, and this lovely baskets are from Women of Will, one of our many partners at Hasanah. So these are handmade cookies made by the women entrepreneurs, some of them single mothers, based in PPR Batu Muda. And it has been a lovely journey to have everyone here today. Of course, our panelists, our moderator, and everyone attending here today. We'll do one by one, and then we'll do a group photo. And of course, we want to do a group photo with everybody, so please stay glued to your seats. Yay, loud and proud. And can we have everybody in the same picture, please? Can we have everybody in the same shot? Yes. We invite Dr. Anwar, head of the education pillar at Yayasan Hasanah, to join the photo session. And now can we maybe take a photo with the rest of the crowd? So, yeah, we should turn. Everyone in the background. Everybody, say cheese. Don't pose like macam Dewan Sekolah, eh? Waktu rehat sekejap saja lagi because kita biryani from Masala Wheels, one of our partners as well. So please don't leave before you have a taste of the delicious biryani. Direct. Can we have a thumbs up? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And as we wrap up this fantastic event, huge thanks on behalf of Yayasan Hasanah to each and everyone. We hope everybody is happy. Please help yourselves. Lunch is now served.